Thank you guys so much for coming back and tuning in to another episode of Black and Classic Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Monet, where we talk all things politics and pop culture. This week, a lot has happened. So let's get into it.
Blackness, that black power, that black pushing them to identify with black culture. I think that's what you're asking. I have no.
First up, you guys know I always want to start off with a recap. And let me tell you, because of the emotions going on this week, especially after recent incidents, the people have been mad, okay? And the comments are not making too much sense. So I had posted a video, kind of like a clip, right, of just what I spoke about last episode. And there was two comments that were made, and it kind of confused me because I was like, did you watch the clip or are you just commenting to comment and react? Because let me tell you, they both were interesting things. They were so random, but also like, oh, you're just emotional. Okay. So first up, we had Jose DeLeon 9118, who said, "You guys just murdered Charlie Kirk. Congrats. You just radicalized majority of Americans against the left." First of all, I didn't murder nobody. Okay. Let's just start off there. I did not do nothing, no harm to nobody. So I just found that to be really interesting. I think this is probably like a fake page or someone, operating behind a profile to not really show their real identity because what are you even talking about? Um, that was random. And then again on this same clip, now mind you, all this all of these comments were under this same video where the title is Trump's broken promises and blame game, why his base is turning. And essentially in that clip, I was speaking about, Trump saying a lot of things that people are starting to catch on to be lies or to be like rage bait and to get people hyped up around things that just aren't true. That's all I said in that clip. So then we have Easy Savage 2574, who said, "You're the problem." I do believe he meant YOURE, but whatever. "You're the problem. Listen to you. You sound deranged." Okay. While filling the world with lies, more people are moving to the conservative side. Try again. Again, did we watch the clip? Because if we watched the clip and we listened, right, active listening with our listening ears, like they taught us in kindergarten, we would have understood that what I was saying was not in support of Trump, but to like help him, to be like, hey, you want people to stay with you. So in order for those people to stay with you, you got to kind of stay true to your word. Of course, politicians lie, but like it's just getting to be too obvious that you're lying or you're being a puppet for someone else's agenda and not the agenda that you ran on and that people voted and stood behind, right? That's all I was saying. So no, I did not murder no one. I don't believe I'm deranged. I also don't think I'm the problem. I think I was offering more so help, but because of recent events, people are definitely in their feelings and it is showing. I also wanted to say, so as we know, right, the thing that's going to be highly discussed is that Charlie Kirk was murdered. And of course, it just like became this like media storm and what both sides are doing is just absolutely crazy. So when it happened, that was Wednesday. When it happened, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go live from my channel. And I've always had this idea, you guys, where when like big things happen, instead of waiting until Sunday, like, of course, I'll talk about it today, but instead of waiting until Sunday, I would just go live, right? I would go live, whether it be really long, like this one was 50 minutes. I did not plan to sit there and talk that long, but whether it be really long or like a real quick check-in just to like talk about what's happening with you guys. I always plan to do it, but y'all know I am not the tech savvy girl, okay? So me trying to figure it out, it was a lot, okay? But I got it done to the best of my ability. Of course, there needs to be some fine tuning with that, but yeah, so I went live just to discuss it. I'll discuss it more with you guys here because it was kind of last minute. Although I did like post about it, it was still announced that same day. Of course, we don't know when events are going to happen, but always be on the lookout now that I've kind of got it worked out, I think. I'll definitely be popping on live when there's a major event happening or a news story taking place. And it has to be something big, right? Like if it's something that could really wait for Sunday, it could. But that to me, like, that was big enough to come in and go live with you guys. I also had plans that day. So let me tell you. My favorite movie is Love Jones. It's my favorite movie, right? And they were playing it like in a park. It was gonna be a cute little thing. So I was gonna go. But then this happened while I was at work, and I said, hey, either I can go to this and just talk about it on Sunday, or I can go live and talk about it. Weigh your options. I'm always priorities. I'm always going to put my podcast first. So I said, you know what? We're going to go live to talk about this. We're going to figure it out. I'll set a deadline for like 8 and try to make it happen within that time period. So definitely look forward to that more. I think that series is going to be more breaking the headlines, where we're just going to break down what has happened, especially if it's a big, like major event, right? We're going to sit down and just talk about it, kind of unpack it in real time. And then Sunday, we'll just kind of talk about the aftermath of what took place. Hopefully things don't happen on a Sunday, because let me tell you, I don't want to record it and have to jump back on live. Okay. So hopefully don't too much happen on a Sunday, but definitely if it's during the week, I will come to you guys with like that breaking headlines, and let's sit down and talk about this in real time. Okay. So now with that being said, we're going to now jump into our local news. So first up, New Haven has implemented cell phone free policy in all of their high schools. And basically what they did was they had this pilot program that they started back in spring just to kind of test it out and see how it would work. Their goal was to really stop kids from like being on their phone, being distracted, stopping fights, bullying, things like that. And in the spring, they found that it worked pretty well. So they invested $375,000 to buy these pouches and basically to stop the kids from using their phones. Now, if they did want to use their phone, they would have to go to like an adult, so like a teacher, or they would have to go to the office. And then for parents as well, the parents would have to call into the office to then get in touch with their kids. So theoretically, it sounds like a great idea, right? You want kids to be engaged. You want kids to be focused. You don't want them distracted. You don't want them worrying about who's saying what on Snapchat, who's posting what on TikTok. You don't want them creating TikToks, right? You want them to be focused and engaged with their schoolwork. Totally fine. Totally understandable. My issue is you spent $375,000, and where there is a will, there is a way for kids to get into their phones, especially if the child is walking around with the pouch. You're telling a child, lock your phone in this pouch, but spend the whole day holding the pouch. The kids are going to get into it. They're going to get into it. Now, I don't know if they have a thing in place where like if you break the pouch, then, to me, that would be the best idea, right? Like every kid gets it. Like we have enough pouches for every kid. Every kid gets an assigned pouch with that number. Whether it be homeroom, they take it every day, however it works, right? You get an assigned pouch with your basic number on it. If you destroy that pouch, your parent now has to come out of pocket for that pouch. You know what I mean? That's, to me, that's the only way that it makes sense. Because I've seen on TikTok, they're put like, you could put a pencil. I hate to say this because if it's a, if this gets into the wrong hands, but the kids already know. Listen, you put a pencil underneath like the flap, that's the magnet, bang it a few times, boop, magnet pops open. How and why it works, I don't know. I saw it on TikTok. I also saw other places who had these yonder pouches where the kids are like, there's like a plastic piece, right? And then there's the fabric and then there's the pouch. I don't know what the plastic piece for. Again, I don't know if that's supposed to be for identification. Maybe you put like a school ID in there. I don't know. The kids are creating slits, right? In that little portion, they're creating slits so they can push it in and push it out, right? So like when they want it to look closed, they push it in. When they want to get their phone out, they just push their phone up, slide their phone out the little cut. When they want to put their phone back in, they put their phone in, push the piece in, doesn't look broke. However, when they go to turn it in and the teacher's looking at it, after a while, you start to see like something look funny about these. Boom. Teacher started noticing every single pouch she got, they all cut in the same area. Cut, cut, cut. She's like, how are they cutting them? Where there is a will, there is a way. To me, this is going to waste a lot more money than need be, because these kids are going to tear them up. They're going to cut into them. They're going to break them. They're going to find a way to demagnetize it, if that's a word. They're going to find a way. Kids are very creative, especially when it comes to their phone. Now, to me, I would just say altogether, no phones. Just simply no phones. Not like a pouch that I carry around. No phones. And no phones mean, okay, you know, every homeroom or whatever has them locked up, or or just don't come to school with it. Be in agreement with the parents that we have a strict no phone policy. Like, it just is what it is. However, this is where it gets interesting. However, at the rate that we are seeing school shootings happen, I do believe that the school has to have the best active school shooter policy in place. Because a lot of times what I've seen is that stuff will start to happen and it seems like there's a delay in like police getting there, police going in, teachers locking doors, people contacting police. Like, it just always seems to be a little bit of a delay. If you want my kid to not have a phone, I need to trust that when shit go down, you got it covered. You got it on lock. I don't even need to question it, Or you have a system where if something happens, all it takes is pushing of a button for parents to get to the school, right? To be notified, right? Whether it's a text, or I know where I work, we have where a text will go out and the text and a call will happen at the same time. So if it's like, a street closing, or, the building is closed, a text, and especially during the winter time, a text and a phone call happens at the same time. Your phone will go and it start ringing. And when it starts ringing, it'll be the same thing. It'll be like the automated voice is reading the text message. That's what y'all need. If you want me to have, to have that strict policy, you need to have an active shooter policy in place that's so thorough and so what is the word I'm looking for? Like, well organized, I guess, that I don't have to feel any hesitation about my child not being able to communicate with me. You know what I mean? That needs to happen. Also, if y'all, are worried about fights and bullying, not parents, teachers, assistant principals, as well as parents too, I guess, y'all need to get involved with the shit that be happening. Because a lot of things, especially from what I noticed, a lot of things were like, oh, they're just kids. Just separate. Don't talk to them. That doesn't solve a problem, right? That doesn't solve a problem. Um, I don't know if you guys like this is kind of connected, but more so just funny. I don't know if you guys watched the unknown number like documentary on Netflix. If you haven't and you have access to Netflix, watch it. Watch it. Okay? Because in that scenario, you had cyberbullying and you had all of this drama around text messages and the bullying of students. And it just felt like no one really took it serious. It felt as though, like when I'm watching it, it felt as though the parents, the law enforcement, the school, everyone was treating it like a like it almost felt like nothing happened in their town, and this was like the biggest thing that ever happened in their town. So they kind of just wanted to not milk the situation, but this was the only thing they had going, you know? So it was like they just kept it going because this was the only thing that they had going. Because not for nothing. And this is such a side note, like this is such a side note. Not for nothing. If my child is being bullied, one, change the number. Everyone said it, change the number. The mom was like, "Oh, we didn't change the number because um something about like they wanted to like get to the bottom of it." And it was like, "What? Like you didn't change the number so it could keep going so you could get to who the person was? You didn't change the number because you're bored." That's what I'm trying to say. You're bored and this is entertaining for you. That's why y'all didn't change the number. You were bored and this is entertaining. And sorry, no one was taking it serious. The person most affected, and I think especially as she grows older, Lauren, the daughter, I think it'll hit her. But everybody else, this was just entertainment. Y'all were just entertained. This was like some desperate housewives type entertainment for y'all because y'all clearly don't have too much going on. So this felt very entertaining, very interesting. Your lives are boring, and here is something taking place that was entertaining because it could have all ended had you changed the number. Now, granted, once those two broke up, you could have changed the number. He would have went and got with another girl. His ex-girlfriend Lauren would have never had the number. And if she got the number and then it started happening again, hello, connection, right? Like it was just so clear that they needed this entertainment at the expense of Lauren because it could have got solved. Furthermore, how I knew they weren't serious about this shit. And also, when y'all be talking about at schools, they talk about bullying and fights. Y'all don't be serious about stopping it because the police came and the police knew that the mother was involved and they were talking to her like she was a victim of it. No, no, no. She is the reason why this is happening. And they're like, we totally understand. And we know what you did. Like, why are y'all talking to her like this? She is the like suspect. She is the one. She is the culprit. And y'all are talking to her like she is the victim. Weird, weird stuff. And then they were like, do you want us to stay while you tell your daughter? While you talk to your daughter? Huh? Put her in handcuffs, bro. No. No, what you should have did is you should have told the father, and the father should have went and had the conversation with the daughter. But y'all sat up there and let her hold and rub on the girl's shoulders and caress her while y'all told her, hey, we got to the bottom of it. And the person that has been cyber stalking you is your mother while her mother is holding and caressing her. What is wrong with y'all? Sorry. I'm just saying. If we are going to pretend that we need to keep kids from being distracted and being on their phones and cyberbullying, we need to take the issue serious, okay? We need to take the issue serious because you can't take a phone and then not address the rest of the shit, the bullying, the fights. Like that was around before phones was around. So address that. Take that serious. Or just get the kids their phones. Seriously. Next. Next up, for real. Next up, but oh, if you haven't watched it, please go watch it. It is insane. Anyways, next up, UConn sees drop in international student enrollment. Now, this was interesting because it was something I did not anticipate, but as I read the article, it made all the sense in the world, you guys. It made all the sense in the world. So, UConn is one of the universities with the most international students in Connecticut, but they've seen an 8% decline since last year. And the Association of International Educators released a preliminary projection that show a 30 to 40% decline in international student enrollment across the country. They report that it'll be a $7 billion loss in revenue and 60,000 fewer jobs. And in Connecticut, this association projects a 15% drop and 122 million loss in revenue. Now, why is this happening, right? I mean, of course, if you listen to this podcast or any other political podcast or news podcast, you can kind of put two and two together. The suspension of visa interviews from May 27th to June 18th had an impact. The limited appointment availability, as well as the downward visa trends and visa bans from the U.S., targeting 19 countries as of June, also had an impact. Now, if you remember, in episode 30, we spoke about Trump banning countries and us going there, them coming here. We also spoke about, the situation with visas and how, remember he went after, I do believe it was Harvard. So we know that this was taking place under the Trump administration. Now, what I will say is I agree with the international students. If I don't know that I'm going to definitely be able to stay in this country for all 4 years or further, depending if I want to go to graduate school, then I won't apply to go to school in that country, which is going to suck because we know the children here dumber than rocks. Let me say that again. The children here are dumber than rocks. Okay. So of course we're going to need some of our international friends to come across the water and get involved because the ones here, all they want to do is stream and be TikTokers. No offense, but let's just be honest where we are. Okay. So y'all know I hate when my nose runs, but they don't want to come. And that's all right. That's fair on their part. But it's going to hurt a lot of universities. It's going to hurt a lot of universities, especially the universities that rely on those international numbers. A lot of your Ivy League schools, a lot of your top schools in your states rely on those international numbers because, of course, you're having a higher tuition and everything like that there, right? Room and board, all of that. So they rely on that. That's a lot of revenue that comes into the school. But if they don't have the security to know that, I won't be 2 years into my studies and now all of a sudden Trump has decided he wants to put a ban on Korea, North Korea, South Korea. Now I can't, now I'm being sent back to my home country and I only did 2 years. I'd rather go somewhere where I'll have the security and know that I can continue to get my education and then live past that, as opposed to going into uncertainty, spending hella money, and then be told that, visa's no good, send them out. Here's ICE on my campus, round them up and get them out, So, sorry. So, I just think that this is probably going to get worse, especially if there is no change. This is going to get worse. A lot of schools are going to be hurting financially. A lot of kids aren't looking to go to these schools. A lot of Americans can't afford to go to these schools. So, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if he's going to address this. I do believe if we had a Democratic president, they would definitely address this. I don't think Trump is going to address this. He's going to be like, You know what I mean? It's just gonna be a, oh well, as opposed to understanding that 7 billion loss in revenue at your top schools is going to be bad. Like it's going to be bad, especially when American kids are, like I said, education wise, dumb. Dumb. The reading rate, right? The way that they do math, all of it, awful, just downright terrible, you know? So they're not going to these top schools. Very, very, very few. A lot of them, again, want to be influencers. They want to be streamers. You know, they want to do all of those things. They could care less about going to your Yale, Harvards, your Columbias, your NYUs. They don't care for what? For what? They can become I don't know. I don't know what has gotten into me, but listen, they can become a celebrity and get an honorary doctorate degree and have never spent a day in a classroom. Why go to school? You know, like you guys make it look so unappealing. And then also, as someone who is a college grad, we know that you go to school, get out, most likely you're not going to get a job in your field. Cool. Now you don't get a job in your field. How do you pay those student loans back? We don't know. And then on top of that, in this economy, listen, they need to figure that out. In this economy, you need all your international students. You need all of them that you can get. Okay? You need them all. Because Americans, they're not going. We have already figured out. We have already figured out the kids not going. I feel like after my generation, they were like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Or if they do go, they're gonna go to like a party school, and they'll go and they'll start their like influencer career while they're in college. You know, they'll be on their TikToks, get ready with me to go to this frat party, get ready with me to go out tonight, get ready with me to go to my final. Like that's what they're going to do. And then boom, I got my degree, but that's not really where my work is. I just got my, like, you know what I mean? It's like a hand in hand kind of thing. But going to like the top schools, it's not happening. Now, with that being said, we are going to jump into our headlines. First up, what I want to discuss, which I feel like, again, every week something happens and it's like the headlines are battling for what's most important. So, first up, Israel targets Hamas leadership in a Qatar strike. So, the Doha blast that happened, two Israeli sources told CNN the strike was months in the making. Now, listen. I don't understand why the strike was months in the making. I don't understand. And when I didn't understand, I said, okay, I need to look into what has happened recently because clearly there was something that was like a trigger that caused them to be like, okay, we've been sitting on this plan, but now we need to make it happen. And so I looked into it. And what had happened was, I think maybe a week prior, there was attack in Jerusalem where 6 were killed, 12 were wounded, but the gunmen, there was 2 of them, they had also been killed, you know, during their attack. Now, Hamas claims that this was a natural response to the occupation's crimes against their people, right? So it's like, Israel, you're doing all this stuff to our people, you're attacking us, you're killing us, you're doing just all kind of awful things. So these 2 people who Hamas have not claimed, they're like, look, we don't know these people, we don't know these men, but we understand. We don't know them, but we understand, right? So because they, you know, did this this attack in Jerusalem, Israel was like, boom, yep, bomb them up, bomb them up. Then, okay, on top of bombing them, called down to the White House and said, hey, just so you know, we finna do X, Y, and Z. I feel like they only called them to be like, if you got some people around there, move them out, give them a call, give them a heads up, let your people know what's about to go down so they could get out of Dodge, because we don't want it to come to we do this and your people get bombed. Cause y'all really with us. Like we we in this. So so they gave him a call, said, look, we finna do X, Y, and Z, get your people. Allegedly. I'll say that allegedly. They did give him a call, but allegedly they told him to get their people, right? So they call him, cool. The bomb happens. That's not cool. And they want to say it's because of what happened there, right? So Bibi Netanyahu and his defense minister say the Qatar attack was fully justified due to this Jerusalem shooting. And like I said last time, Israel is not looking for peace. Let's be clear. Israel is not looking for peace. If they were looking for peace, you would just let the negotiations happen. There's no need, right, for us to continuously have these random bombings. Hamas has already said they don't know these two men. They understand why they did it. They did it because they seeing the violence taking place, right, where they live. They see the women and the children being bombed and killed and shot up. So they went out and tried to, enact their own vengeance, right? And revenge. That's what they wanted to do. But Hamas is like, we don't know them. We don't claim them. We understand what they were doing, why they did it. But that don't got nothing to do with us. And Israel was like, we don't care. We don't care about none of that. Send them bombs. Send them strikes. And it is just crazy to me. Them people don't want peace. They are looking for any reason to drop a bomb, send out some, airstrikes, missiles, all kind of things. Because whatever they want, I'm not here to speculate. I don't dig too much into this because to me, it's clear. It's like a conquering thing, right? Like that's the only thing I can sum it up with. It's more of a conquering thing. It's not a thing of like, we think you're bad people. Because if that was the case, then everybody would be, to me, a lot more people would be on board. But it more seems like a conquering thing. We just want to conquer what y'all got going on and take your land or whatever. That's what it feels like to me. Again, that is my own speculation, but I don't believe Israel is looking for peace, because if they were looking for peace, we would just let the negotiations happen how they happen. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to sit too much there because dumb people are crazy and mean, but that's what I get from it. Now, this next topic I didn't write down because we all know. Okay, we all know what happened. We all know what took place on Wednesday. So we're just going to more so, I hate to say speculate, but that's what we're going to do. Here's the thing. We've seen the aftermath. The day. I wish I took a screenshot. I don't think I did. I should have. The day Charlie Kirk was shot, the day it was announced that he died, Fox News put onto their site that he was an American martyr. When I saw it, because remember, you guys, I was live. When I saw it, I was like, really? It's kind of wild. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, he was a young podcaster. You know what I mean? And that's not to say that you can't stand behind this person's message and understand this person's message, but martyr is just such a strong term to use for somebody. Then preceding that, you had, his body being flown onto by, I should say, Air Force Two, he got like this military service. JD Vance was there with his hand on the casket. It was a great show, and that's what kind of disturbs my spirit a little bit, was how fast it became almost like a reality type display, or a televised show. It happened very fast. Okay. Then his wife is coming down off of Air Force Two with JD Vance's wife. And then I said on the live, if you didn't watch it, go check it out. I said on the live, Trump for sure is going to do some type of sit down press conference of another, and that's what he did. Let's run that clip.
Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
So now it's very interesting, right? That so fast they are able to do this, say this, and speak about him in this way. Now, mind you, at the same time, there was a school shooting in Colorado. I believe it was Evergreen, Colorado, that took place. Not a word, not a mention, um, nothing, not a thing. And if I'm not mistaken, was that not two back to back? And nothing said, nothing mentioned. But yet here we are doing this. Now, granted, I am not anyone to say that this person did not mean this much to these people. I'm not here to say that. But what I will say is that I don't think his impact was to that degree. Okay? I think they are using him as some sort of extreme symbolism. And again, I don't think we will see why. Like, we have to wait. It's going to play out, but they are propping him up to be this big political symbol. And I'm just not sure why yet, but that's what my gut is telling me, is that he's being propped up to be a symbol for something, because they're doing a lot and they're doing it fast. Um, I think his wife recently, maybe today or yesterday, made a post from his page, I think in her page as well as, like, I think Turning Point USA I saw as a collaborator on Instagram. And that's 16 minutes, so I'm not going to play that, but that was also very interesting because let me tell you, if someone who I consider to be my husband, the father of my children, is executed in that manner, I don't think I'm going to have the words to get up a day, 2, 3, 4 days later. I'm just not. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to have it. Like, I'm just not going to have it. So it was just very interesting to me that she was able to, like, get in front of a camera and do that. I don't know. That was just very interesting to me. And then, the way this is happening and rolling out is just very, very interesting. On the flip side of that, I will say the people who, I guess you could say, are on the left or not a conservative, the way they're treating this death is also very terrible to me. I think both sides are doing interesting things in opposite ways. On the other side, you have people who are celebrating, laughing, joking about it. Me, I could never do such thing. Now, I'm being told by the internet that not laughing and joking about it is kind of also, in a way, supporting what he's about. I don't know too much about the man. Like I've said multiple times, especially on my live, um, all I knew is that he was the co-founder of a company that Candace Owens worked for. And that's about all I knew. He had some viral moments, a lot with transgender people, a lot about white privilege and this, that, and the third. And that's all I knew. You know what I'm saying? With that being all I know, me personally, not what the internet has told me, not what a headline has told me, with all of it, with that being all that I personally know, I don't feel comfortable, whether it's him or anybody else, to go out and make jokes about someone dying. I just can't do it. Whether it be for my religious standing or whether it just be the human fucking thing to do, I don't think it makes sense to laugh at someone dying. I just don't believe that. Now, if you want to discuss his death, if you want to discuss how he, you know, lived by something and died by that same thing, totally understandable. Great example, Don Lemon. When it happened, Don was going live. And that was another reason why, because I'm like, man, everyone's going to be live. Everyone's going to be on the internet. I might as well throw, my voice into the noise. And so he was going live and he wasn't making jokes, but he was just kind of like, this is a sad moment. This person has died. This is who he is. And these are things that he has said. And that's it. And then he just went on, reporting the events, reporting what happened, reporting who he is. When the clip had came out, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. I wish I had a clean version of that clip that I can share with you guys. But essentially, Charlie Kirk said a few deaths a year have to happen in order for us to keep our Second Amendment, right? And that clip has circulated because everyone's like, well, that's what he stood for, so that's why he died, And, they're up on Don Lemon and they're talking about this, but it's not in a way to make fun of the man. It's just like, this is what he said, and that's what we're here to talk about. And I can appreciate that. Again, I can appreciate people who just report, I don't want to say like the facts, but they report what is there in black and white. When y'all come with your theories and he was just such a racist, he was just such a racist, and you don't have anything to back it up, I don't like that. Give me something in black and white that you are pointing to and speaking to and backing it up with. Not what you heard someone else say, not what the internet has told you in some comments, what you know for yourself to be true. And then okay, cool, we can roll with it. And we can have a discussion from there. But discussion doesn't start at making fun of somebody. To me, personally. Because look, if you don't know, then I'll tell you, I am the biggest Nipsey Hussle fan. Do you know how offended I would be if someone got on the internet and mocked his death because he was a gang member, he did claim a gang, and then to also die in the same kind of manner? Like, he did all these, great things, and he was, someone who advocated for a lot of Black empowerment and excellence and things like that. But to then also, in the same breath, die from something that we can say was gang related. If someone got on the internet and started mocking him, I would be so offended and so hurt, right? Because I didn't know, like, although, yes, I knew he was, gang affiliated and things like that, claimed it, spoke about it, whatever. That's not all he was to me, right? To me and to many others. So for them to have people get on the internet and mock it and make jokes, you know what I mean? And being like, oh, we're crying because a gang member died by gang violence. Like, that would be so offensive. So to me, I just couldn't do that to somebody else, no matter what type of walk of life they had. I'm not going to get on the internet and do that because I know on the reverse how that could feel. You understand what I'm saying? Just like there are a lot of people who die by drug overdose, right? I love DMX. If someone got on the internet and was like, oh, you're laughing because a drug addict died by drugs, like, you know what I mean? Like, those type of things are offensive and not right, So to me, I'm just not going to make jokes about someone dying. I'm not going to do it because if it was flipped, I wouldn't want someone to do that to me, whether it's a celebrity, whether it's my family member. I don't want you to do the same thing to me. So I'm not going to do it to you, whether that be religious, because in the Bible it says, right, the same thing, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like, that's a thing. So whether you want to say it's religious in Christianity or it's just a human thing to do, then, it is what it is. But the way people are treating this, like they have the right and the authority to make fun of this man in death, is absolutely crazy. But the same thing, the way the other side is treating it as though he is this political martyr and flags at half mast and all this other stuff, or half staff, whatever it is just, it's beyond me. It's beyond me. Not for a podcaster. I hate to say it like that, as if it minimizes him, but not for a podcaster. You know what I mean? But I could see a world where, like, let's say Barack Obama was in was in the White House, and Nipsey died, or God forbid some other like major African American cultural person, and Obama was like, "Oh, let's first of all, the world would eat him alive." But anyways, I wouldn't be too mad. So like I get it. You know what I mean? Like let's be real. I get it. You know what I mean? Like knock on wood, but like let's say like if it was like Jay-Z or someone like that and Obama was like, "Yeah, let's put all flags at half mast." I'd be like, "Nah, yeah, for sure do that one," you know? So I get it. But at the same time, I'm just not going to laugh at nobody's death. I do think this is showing people's true characters, you know what I mean? But I just think that happens with death regardless. It just shows who people are. And a lot of people have shown themselves. I'm not saying you have to agree with Charlie Kirk. I'm not saying you have to support his message. I honestly, half the time, I don't even know what the arguments are, but I'm not saying I support it. I don't know nothing about the man. You know what I mean? All I'm saying, and I think what a lot of people are saying is we're just not going to laugh at his death. We're not going to mock it. We're not going to make jokes, because if we were in that position and it was someone that we cared about and that we loved and everything, we wouldn't want someone else to do that to us. So I just wouldn't do it to someone else. And I'll leave that there. Now, we're staying on Charlie, but the shooter. The shooter. Now, y'all, this is quite interesting because one, it happened in Utah. So with this happening in Utah, y'all should already know the shooter wasn't going to be black. Huh? Y'all should already know the shooter wasn't going to be black. They out there in Mormontown, baby. That shooter was not going to be black. Let's be clear. Okay? That was not happening. So I already knew that. And it was very interesting because there was I don't want to say there was delay, but everyone was like, well, if y'all could find Luigi that quick, y'all should be able to find this man. I felt like they were looking for a patsy, right? Someone that they can push this off on, and they definitely found one. Where I struggle, same with Luigi. Where I struggle, the same one with the man that attempted to assassinate Trump at that rally. Where are y'all? Bring it in. Where are y'all finding these shooters at? Where are y'all finding them at? Where? And there has been a lot of reference, if you're on Political Talk, there has been a lot of reference to scandal. Rightfully so. Because where are y'all finding these shooters at? You telling me a 22-year-old? A 22-year-old got on top of a building and shot from that far away. And cleared them? Some things just don't add up. Y'all got to start aging these people. I don't know why they're so young, but again, you know what? We'll get to it. Y'all have to start. Y'all being whoever they is out there in the ether. In Scandal, you had like B613 and all of those type of things. You had organizations that were putting shit like this together. That's my conspiracy brain, but I do believe it to be true to some degree. Okay. Now, so y'all need these people to get older. Give me like a 42 divorced, ex-military, radicalized man, white man. I'll be down for the cause, because I say, You know what I'm saying? He done seen some things. He done experienced some things. He saw the highs and the lows of the country. He fought for the country. Like, I could get behind that. I can't get behind a 22-year-old who shot from that far away. You know what I mean? It's such a struggle. You know what I'm saying? It's such a struggle. But that's not all. It gets better because everyone was reporting, okay, how are they going to tell us this is a trans person, right? Because when it was like they had first arrested an older man or detained, I guess you could say, and then the reports came out and said, no, 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 it wasn't him. It wasn't him. Nope, that the person you saw, it wasn't him. Okay. So everyone was waiting like, okay, they're going to have to tell us this person is trans. Like they're just going to have to, right? Because that's their narrative. I spoke about this before. That's the narrative. That's the story. That's the agenda. They're always trans. So allegedly in this one, I believe his name's Tyler Robinson, his daddy called and gave him up and was like, yeah, it's my son. Already unbelievable, but okay, cool. So it's him. They find him. I'm reading and I'm seeing that, the gun was like assembled, disassembled, assembled again to be used. Then it was taken apart. Then it was thrown, kind of like how Luigi was. Again, watch this. The story be a little bit the same. Clock that one. Story will always be a little bit the same. So cool. They find the gun. Okay, connections, great. Then what happens, right? So now we know that there is a connection to the transgender agenda. According to reports, it's his roommate. He lived with a transgender person. Every single time. They did a lot. I'm betting, okay, I should say. I'm alleging that they did a lot of scrubbing, a lot of deep dive, a lot of digging, and they could not find a agenda. They probably were like, his roommate wore a wig once or twice. Trans. Because I couldn't see how a person who they claim was a Trump supporter, was damn near MAGA, wore the Trump costume that one Halloween, did all of that, and then went and had a transgender roommate. You see what I'm saying? It don't add up to me. It just does not add up to me. Now, to me, in my spirit, something is telling me that this is bigger than what we will ever be able to comprehend. However, side note, don't forget he was friends with Candace Owens. Candace Owens loves a good deep dive. She loves a good deep dive and to uncover something. I pray for the woman because I know she's going to look into this, okay? I already know that's happening, okay? So for me, they may want to cross their T's and dot their I's with this story that they're creating because this is a story and this is fabrication at its highest level. This is fabrication, okay? I don't know who in their right mind is meant to believe this. It just don't make sense to me. I don't know how anyone would make sense to them, that you're telling me a 20-year-old got up on this building and shot that far, that distance. What was it, like 200 yards or something like that? Cleared them. No. And then in Utah, of all places, like, no. Again, I keep saying it. You cannot piss on us and tell us it's raining. You have got to start being clear with what you want us to believe. This is a cockamamie story, okay? I'm not even willing to believe whatever this is. I will not lie to you. I'm not. There's definitely more here. I definitely do believe. I don't want to get in my conspiracy bag, but y'all know I don't mind to do it anyway. There's a conspiracy here. There is. And I just don't know. There's so many things happening. I feel like we're going to be talking about this for a few weeks as more is developed or until they want us to stop asking questions, because people are going to be asking questions and they're going to get to a point where they're like, we don't want y'all to ask questions. Sentence him, send him up to jail. Let's move on. Because people are going to ask questions, especially when you have like the Epstein files and just the little bit of cover-ups that they've been doing. People are going to ask questions, rightfully so, because it do look a little funny in the light. I think they're moving a little too fast. They're doing a lot too fast. It was funny. I had saw, if I can find it, I'll insert it here. But I saw a clip of some white men. I said this in my thing. I was like, there's no reason to protest because we know it's going to be a white man. Leave it to the white men. They did go out and protest, and they were chanting white men fight back. My love, white men fight back. Against who? Yourselves? Fight back against yourself? Because that was a white man who supported the same man you supported. So fight back against who? They out there with their MAGA hats and their flags and this, that, and a third, and chanting white men fight back against who, babe? Because that wasn't no black man. That wasn't a Hispanic man. That was a 22-year-old Utah boy. Is that who you're fighting back against? I'm confused. I'm confusion. And that's why I said I don't know why we're making him out to be this martyr, because this was white on white crime, to be fair, to be honest. That's what it was. So I'm just not piecing it together. I'm not piecing it together. But with that being said, I'm going to let y'all have it. Please drop a comment below. Keep it respectful, because y'all getting a little crazy. Keep it respectful, but let me know your thoughts, your theories, what you allege, what you might believe is theoretically, hypothetically happening, because something's happening. I don't know what yet. We got to keep paying attention. I don't know what yet, but something is happening, and we have to get to the bottom of it. It's important. We have to get to the bottom of it, because they're playing in our face right now. Be clear. They're playing in our face right now. Okay. And they're selling us stories as old as what is it saying? As old as the day, something like that, y'all. Help me out. They're playing, okay? The long and short of it, they're playing. But I want to know what are they hiding? What are they, what's taking place? 'Cause something in my spirit is telling me this is not right. Okay. So we'll see. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I love when you guys tune in. Let me know your thoughts. Talk to me. Let's talk it out. As always, okay? Don't debate me, debate your granny, because I just do not give a fuck. And with that being said, I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye.